From the steppes of Central Asia, a land of vast open plains and rugged terrain, a new power arose in the 13th century, the Mongol Empire. This empire, unlike any other, would come to dominate the known world with unprecedented speed and ferocity. Led by the brilliant and ruthless Genghis Khan, a leader whose name would become synonymous with conquest and strategy, the Mongols embarked on a campaign of conquest unmatched in history. Their campaigns were marked by swift, decisive victories and a relentless drive to expand their territory. Their vast armies, renowned for their equestrian skills, discipline, and innovative tactics, were a force to be reckoned with. The Mongol warriors were not just fighters, they were masters of mobility and surprise. Sweeping across Asia, they left a trail of both destruction and awe in their wake. Cities fell, empires crumbled, and the world watched in both fear and fascination. By the time of Genghis Khan's death in 1227, the Mongol Empire had already become the largest contiguous empire in history. The empire stretched from the Pacific Ocean to the Caspian Sea, a vast expanse that included diverse cultures, languages, and peoples. Encompassing much of China, Central Asia, and Persia, the Mongol influence reshaped these regions in profound ways. Genghis Khan's successors continued his legacy of expansion, each leader adding their own mark to the empire's history. Their sights now set on the wealthy and fragmented kingdoms of Eastern Europe, the Mongols prepared for new conquests. Under Ogedei Khan, the third son of Genghis, the Mongol Empire reached new heights. Ogedei's leadership was marked by both administrative reforms and military campaigns. The Mongols launched a series of devastating campaigns westward, pushing deeper into Europe than any Asian power before them. Their advance was relentless, their strategies impeccable. Crossing rivers and mountains, the Mongol warriors adapted to new terrains and climates, showcasing their versatility and determination. Driven by a thirst for plunder and fueled by a sense of their own invincibility, the Mongols seemed unstoppable. Their victories were celebrated with fervor, their conquests leaving a lasting impact. Their reputation as ferocious warriors, known for their brutality and psychological warfare, preceded them. Tales of their fearsome tactics spread far and wide. The Mongols employed psychological warfare to great effect, using fear as a weapon to weaken their enemies before the battle even began. This strategy struck fear into the hearts of even the bravest European defenders, who often found themselves outmatched and overwhelmed. The Mongol invasion of Europe was a watershed moment, forever altering the course of history for both East and West. It was a clash of civilizations on an unprecedented scale. The interactions between Mongol and European cultures during this period were complex and multifaceted, leading to both conflict and exchange. The sheer scale and ferocity of the Mongol onslaught tested the limits of European resilience and military might. Fortresses were besieged, armies were decimated, and the continent was thrown into turmoil. It is a tale of clashing civilizations, of military triumphs and tragedies, and of the enduring legacy of resistance in the face of overwhelming odds. The Mongol warriors, victorious and seemingly invincible, left an indelible mark on the history of Europe. Yet, the resilience of the European defenders also became a part of this epic saga. Monuments and memorials of resistance stand as a testament to the fierce battles fought and the enduring spirit of those who stood against the Mongol tide. This chapter in history is a powerful reminder of the complexities of conquest and the resilience of the human spirit. The year 1223 marked the first major encounter between the Mongols and the European powers. This was a time when the Mongol Empire, under the leadership of Genghis Khan, was rapidly expanding its territories, pushing the boundaries of its influence far and wide. The European powers, largely unaware of the Mongol threat, were about to face an enemy unlike any they had encountered before. The Mongols, with their highly mobile cavalry and innovative tactics, were a formidable force. This first significant clash occurred at the Battle of the Kalka River, a location in present-day Ukraine. The battle was a pivotal moment, setting the stage for future Mongol incursions into Europe. Located in present-day Ukraine, the battle pitted a coalition of Rus's princes and their Cuman allies against a Mongol force led by the generals Jebe and Subutai. The Rus's princes, despite their valor, were unprepared for the Mongol onslaught. The Mongol generals Jebe and Subutai were seasoned warriors, having honed their skills in numerous campaigns across Asia. Their leadership and strategic acumen were instrumental in the Mongol victory. The Rus, unfamiliar with Mongol tactics and hampered by internal divisions, suffered a crushing defeat. Their lack of coordination and understanding of the Mongol way of warfare proved to be their undoing. The Mongols, masters of maneuver and deception, lured the Rus into a trap, surrounding and annihilating their forces. Their ability to execute complex battlefield maneuvers with precision was unmatched. The Battle of the Kalka River served as a grim prelude to the full-scale Mongol invasion that would follow. It was a stark warning of the devastation that the Mongol horde could unleash. The battle's aftermath was a scene of utter devastation. The Rus' forces were decimated, and the survivors were left to recount the horrors they had witnessed. The Mongol victory at Kalka River exposed the vulnerabilities of European armies against the Mongols' highly mobile and disciplined cavalry. The traditional European military tactics were no match for the Mongol innovations. It exposed the vulnerabilities of European armies, highlighting their inability to counter the Mongols' swift and coordinated attacks. The European knights, accustomed to heavy armor and close combat, were ill-prepared for the Mongol style of warfare. The speed and decisiveness of the Mongol victory sent shockwaves through the courts of Europe, spreading fear and uncertainty about the true extent of the Mongol threat. The European leaders were left scrambling to understand and counter this new enemy. The speed and decisiveness of the Mongol victory were unprecedented. The Mongols moved with a swiftness that left their enemies bewildered and unable to mount an effective defense. The news of the Mongol victory at Kalka River sent shockwaves through the courts of Europe. Rulers and nobles were gripped by fear and uncertainty, unsure of how to respond to this new and terrifying threat. The fear and uncertainty spread quickly, affecting not just the rulers, but also the common people. Townsfolk and soldiers alike were anxious, knowing that the Mongol horde could strike at any moment. Following their victory at Kalka River, the Mongol generals conducted a reconnaissance in force, pushing further westward into Europe. They were not just content with their victory, they sought to gather more intelligence and test the defenses of the kingdoms they encountered. They raided and plundered settlements across the Pontic steppe, gathering intelligence and testing the defenses of the kingdoms they encountered. These raids were a precursor to the larger invasions that were to come. They raided and plundered settlements across the Pontic steppe, leaving a trail of destruction in their wake. The Mongol warriors were relentless, and their raids were marked by brutality and efficiency. Gathering intelligence and testing the defenses of the kingdoms they encountered, the Mongols were meticulous in their approach. They sought to understand their enemies' strengths and weaknesses before launching full-scale invasions. However, instead of capitalizing on their momentum, the Mongols abruptly withdrew eastward in 1224. This sudden retreat left many in Europe puzzled and relieved. The Mongols abruptly withdrew eastward in 1224, leaving the European powers in a state of confusion. The reason for this unexpected retreat was the death of Ogedei Khan. The death of Ogedei Khan, requiring the Mongol princes to return to their homeland for the election of a new great Khan, granted Europe a temporary reprieve. This pause in Mongol aggression was a brief respite for the beleaguered European kingdoms. For the election of a new great Khan, granted Europe a temporary reprieve. The European leaders used this time to fortify their defenses and strategize for the inevitable return of the Mongol forces. Little did they know that this was merely a pause before the storm, a brief interlude before the full force of the Mongol war machine would be unleashed upon them. The Mongols were far from finished with their ambitions in Europe. A brief interlude before the full force of the Mongol war machine would be unleashed upon them. The European powers would soon face the might of the Mongol Empire once again, in battles that would shape the course of history. In 1237, under the leadership of Batu Khan, grandson of Genghis Khan, the Mongols returned to Europe with a vengeance. Their previous incursions had already left a mark, but this time, their intent was clear and unyielding. Their objective, the complete subjugation of the lands of Rus. The Mongols, known for their unparalleled military strategies and ferocity, were determined to bring the vast territories of Rusas under their control. The Mongol invasion of Rus was a campaign of systematic destruction and brutality. They employed a combination of psychological warfare, swift cavalry attacks, and relentless sieges to break the spirit of the Rus's people. Cities were besieged, sacked, and burned, leaving behind a trail of devastation. The Mongols showed no mercy, ensuring that their reputation for ruthlessness preceded them. Their populations massacred or driven into slavery. The sheer scale of the destruction was unprecedented, with entire towns and villages wiped off the map. The Rus's princes, unable to mount a unified defense against the relentless Mongol advance, found themselves outmaneuvered and outmatched. Their disunity and internal conflicts only made it easier for the Mongols to conquer them. They were picked off one by one. Each principality fell, unable to withstand the might of the Mongol war machine. The fall of Kiev, the ancient capital of Rus, in 1240 stands as a testament to the Mongols' destructive power. This once great city, a beacon of culture and trade, was reduced to ashes. Once a thriving center of trade and culture, Kiev was reduced to rubble after a brutal siege. The Mongols' relentless assault left the city in ruins, its people either dead or enslaved. The Mongols, employing their signature mix of siege warfare, cavalry assaults, and psychological warfare, overwhelmed the city's defenses. Their tactics were designed to instill fear and ensure swift victories. The sack of Kiev sent shockwaves throughout Eastern Europe, marking a turning point in the region's history. The news of Kiev's fall spread quickly, causing panic and dread among neighboring territories, marking the beginning of Mongol domination over the region and the decline of Kievan Ruses as a major power. The Mongol yoke would reshape the political landscape of Eastern Europe for generations. The Mongol conquest of Rus had profound and long-lasting consequences. It not only decimated the population, but also disrupted the social and economic fabric of the region. It shattered the political unity of the region, paving the way for the rise of Moscow and the Grand Duchy of Lithuania. These new powers would eventually fill the vacuum left by the fallen Kievan Rus. The Mongol domination, known as the Tatar yoke, also had a significant cultural and economic impact. The Mongols introduced new administrative practices and influenced local customs and traditions, influencing everything from architecture and language to trade routes and agricultural practices. The Mongol presence left an indelible mark on the cultural landscape of Rus. The memory of the Mongol conquest would continue to haunt the Russian psyche for centuries to come. The tales of Mongol brutality and the devastation they wrought became a part of the collective memory, shaping its identity and its relationship with the East. The legacy of the Mongol invasion influenced Russia's development and its interactions with neighboring cultures and empires.